morning, afternoon, whatever it is where you're located. Monday Morning Quarterback, episode 136. Glad you could join us, and hope you had a fantastic weekend and a good start to your week here. Was a great start to the USAC season, really getting going full blown out here in Indiana for our customers, with Tyler Courtney dominating the first night there, or actually they were in the same day, but the first feature at Eldora with Baloo running second, and then reverse order later that day with Baloo winning and Sunshine running second. A close race between those two, but 1-2 for CSI Shock users at Eldora, which is awesome. So glad to have a great start to the year out there, and then customers racking up wins across the country in micros and quarter midgets, and thank you all for tagging us in those. We try to put as many of them as we can on our social media, Instagram and Facebook stories, and the big ones we post as well. So please keep us updated on your success as the year progresses, and we certainly appreciate you guys doing that. So today's topic is weekly maintenance and time management. And I feel like this is a really important topic, especially considering the times we're all living in as far as not being able to get things. Things we used to take for granted that we could just order and have the next day, you can't get. And they're getting harder and harder to get. And the things that you can't get seem to be growing every week. We've fought that a little bit. We have folks that have been waiting 4 and 5 weeks for sets of shocks because we can't get parts, and then vendors are behind, and it's hard to get material, and we're doing the best we can and trying to forecast out as far as we can to keep that from happening. And we appreciate everyone's patience. And so we're running into it, and then just other things, right? You can't get oil filters, and there's a shortage of this, and there's a shortage of that, and it's just very difficult. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about kind of your weekly maintenance program and how you do some of that, and making sure that you identify what you need straight away so you can get that stuff coming as soon as you can, because where you used to be able to, I'll just go get that on Wednesday when I'm on that side of town, it might not be there. So but before we dive into that topic, and as always, if you have a question, go ahead and answer that or ask that, and I'll answer those when I'm done. Whether it pertains to this week's topic or not, it does not matter. But a question I've gotten multiple times in the last week, and it's something I believe we've covered before when we did a show on how to read your dyno sheet. But Rorig software, when we run a gas force test, which is something that we do for our data collection when we're dynoing shocks, if you run a gas force test, sorry, I should have silenced my phone. If you run a gas force test, silence this, it shows on the dyno sheet gas force removed. And what that means is it's removed the gas force from the equation through the data collection. But that doesn't mean we actually ran the shock on the dyno with no gas pressure. That just means as part of the testing parameters that we've set up, that we asked for it to do a gas force test, and then we asked for that data to be removed from the equation. And we do that because that way, if you dyno the shock with 10 pounds or 100 pounds, it doesn't skew the data. But it's very confusing for customers when they look at their dyno sheet and it says gas force removed. They think that means we dynoed the shock with no gas in it, and it's okay to run it with no gas in it, which it's not. So definitely never run the shock with zero gas. Your tuning guide will tell you kind of the parameters where we set the gas pressure at. And last week's episode, we talked about why it's so important to run gas pressure in a shock. So if you missed that, go back and catch that. Today's topic is weekly maintenance and time management, as I mentioned, and weekly priorities. So I created this quick little checklist, which is going to be a very aerial view of what your weekly priorities should look like. Okay, so we lost audio when I faded to that screen for some reason. So I'll start my spiel over. When we get home from a race, whether we're an asphalt racer or a dirt racer, we want to get everything cleaned up and put away. And then the number two thing would be to get the methanol out of the system. Most of your engine builders are going to tell you to get that out right away so nothing gels up. So blowing out your fuel lines, cleaning the bypasses, doing all of that. And then the number three thing on that list was prepare a list of parts that you're going to need. And that is something that I maybe wouldn't have done a year ago as the number three thing on my list. But now with how hard it is to get parts and the shortage of things, I want to make sure first thing Monday morning that I'm making the phone call to order anything that got damaged or something that's maybe time cycled out, get all of that stuff ordered right away, and then I would dive into my weekly maintenance. And maybe you can do your maintenance on a Sunday if you didn't race on a Sunday and accomplish that. Because sometimes through maintenance you'll identify something that you might need that you didn't catch during the wash. But I'm going to pay extra attention when I'm washing the car, cleaning everything up of anything that we're going to need. And it's maybe supplies for the trailer or race car parts that need ordered. But we want to make sure we get that stuff handled at the first part of the week so we have it for the next weekend's races, and we're not paying for overnight shipping and stuff like that. So those little expenses add up, right? If you got to air freight stuff in because you forgot to order it till Wednesday or Thursday, and then you do that multiple times throughout the season, next thing you know, you spent a few $1,000 on freight that wasn't necessary. So making sure you get that stuff ordered first thing Monday morning, especially in today's times, not knowing what's available, what not. After I do my weekly maintenance, I really like to spend some time going through my previous notes, where are we racing at this weekend, and going through my previous notes from that track, or if I haven't been there, a track that's similar. If it's a place I've never been, I might reach out to somebody that's been there before and get a good baseline as far as a gear's concerned, but really spend a little bit of time and put some thought into that baseline setup that you're going to put on your race car, because typically the guy who's in victory lane at the end of the night is the guy who probably made the least amount of changes throughout the night. He unloaded very good. The car was good in hot laps, and then he just kept up with the track all night. If you're totally searching after hot laps and having to change a bunch of different things, that's usually a recipe for a rough night. So I spend a lot of time determining what that baseline setup's going to be, and I'm confident in it when I go to the track that we're going to be in a pretty good spot. And then, of course, after you get the car set up, get everything cleaned up, put back away, load it in the trailer, and start all over again for the following week. So what seems like something that's very simple and routine, and you do it every single week, I feel like there should be some thought put into it in the order you do it to make sure that you get everything you need done and accomplished in a timely manner, and you're ready to go back and race. And again, the more prepared you are when you get to the racetrack, the more successful you're going to be, the more enjoyable your experience is going to be. So if you have any questions pertaining to this week's topic or any topic, I'm more than happy to answer them. If you've got a topic that you would like us to cover in the future, please bring that up so we can do that. We look forward to doing some more episodes out in the shop with multiple camera angles, and not just me sitting here, but our video guy Tyler has been sick the last couple weeks, so we're hoping he gets healthy and can come back and film some of those. And once we move to the new shop here in a month or so, we have a whole little studio set up for Monday Morning Quarterback, so those episodes will be a lot better than me just sitting here. So doesn't look like anybody has any questions. One other topic, and again, this is something that we've covered before, and I touched on it last week, but we had a couple more people throughout the week that had a question, is with your inflation tools. Typically, the shock is not leaking itself. It's the inflation tool that's not sealing on the shock, and that's where you're losing your pressure. So definitely make sure that that inflation tool is sealing up to the shock. If the copper crush washer is just shagged out, it's squished beyond belief, and a little O-ring in there is how we would seal them here at the shop, and make sure that is where your issue is, because most of the time it's not actually leaking from the shock. But we get that call on a weekly basis. Somebody's going to send their shock in because they think it's not holding pressure, when in fact the shock holds pressure fine, just the gauge is messed up, which that's another part that we don't have in stock at the moment. It's been difficult to get those T-handles, so hopefully here in the next few weeks we'll have those back in stock. But if nobody has any questions, we will sign off for this week. If you watch this after the fact and have a question, that's not a problem. Comment, we'll try to get back to you, or we can start next week's episode with that. We thank you for tuning in. Please like and share the video, and we hope you all have a fantastic week. Take care.